The information in this podcast is provided for education and research information only. It is not a substitute for professional health advice.
We've got some very exciting news, haven't we, Pat?
Very excited.
Very excited. Some of you may have already noticed, but we have a new logo which has Mamma Mia on it.
We've been looking for a like-minded partner to help us with promotion and distribution of the Kick Pregnancy podcast, and being part of the largest women's podcast network was really a no-brainer for us.
I didn't actually realise how huge the Mamma Mia podcast network was.
Enormous.
No, and they call us, we're in the stable now, so we're in the Mamma Mia podcasting stable. It's very, very exciting.
Well, we're still in charge of the content, so in that regard it's business as usual.
So keep sending in your speak pipes, keep telling us what you want to hear as topics. All of that's really, really important.
Mamma Mia's mission is to make the world a better place for women and girls, and it fits nicely with our mission, which is to help people have better pregnancies and births.
It's a really good fit. And we wanted to say we only got there because of you, our dear listeners. Thank you so much for all of your interaction that you've had with us, the sending in of the DMs, the liking our podcast, forwarding it on to a friend. That has been so important to how we've grown.
We appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
All right then, let's get on with the show. Welcome to The Kick, your expert-led podcast helping you explore and learn everything about getting pregnant, pregnancy, birth and becoming a parent.
On the podcast and our online pregnancy program, Grow My Baby, we share my experience of helping more than 4,000 babies to be born.
And our experience of running a women's health clinic and parenting 4 boys.
We're here to help everyone to feel empowered in pregnancy and birth with real-life practical information.
Welcome everyone, I'm Brigid Maloney and today I'm flying solo and I'm interviewing one of our students, Shay Liggett, today. Welcome, Shay.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much.
Shay, I want to start by saying you look amazing. You've got a 3-month-old, and if anyone was to jump onto your Instagram, what they would see right now is an incredibly fit, healthy, motivated person, mum of 1, business owner, high-performance coach, but you've been on quite a journey to get there, haven't you?
I have. Made it sound so amazing, Brigid.
Can you tell us about your 17-year-long eating disorder?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've really openly shared this because it has been an incredible journey. And having Harvey, he's 3 months today, and the experience of the pregnancy and being a mother, if anything, I am so grateful for the journey and the woman that I've become. And it's actually made my journey so beautiful. So my experience of the 17 years eating disorder, a long journey. When I look at it, 17 years, it's, it's a big part of my life. I just really struggled with accepting myself, my body, probably right through from my teens, right through to probably about my late 20s. I'm now 37. So for the big part of it, I just really struggled to love myself. It didn't matter like how small I got, I was never happy. And I was always trying to kind of aim for a feeling of loving myself, trying to aim for a feeling like really happy with myself through getting to a certain shape or a certain weight and certain goal. And that was where I found myself just kind of chasing for the number. And then at the same time, just spending hours and hours and hours in the gym. That journey really took me to where I am now as a gym owner, business owner, and I do not train relentlessly like that. It's 3 times a week. It's just meant to be that I had to go through that kind of journey for myself. But that journey took me to actually competing on stage as well. When I did compete on stage for the very first time, which was the age of 34, I was in the best mindset. And I say that because I went through a journey of going the complete extreme, trying to kind of search for a feeling. And I never got the feeling. So that was where I spent a lot of time just really, okay, I really need to go and get help because clearly I haven't actually resolved this, what's happening with myself. I went to see a psychologist. It was the best thing that I did for myself. And I suggest if anyone is experiencing that to that extreme, I know how difficult it could be to actually get professional help because it feels there's a lot of shame. It feels like you've got this, you can do this on your own. And I thought that for years. And what my biggest regret is actually going have gone to just give that a chance to see a psychologist, to get professional help. I know this also can happen, is seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a first professional and not having a good experience. You kind of just write that off entirely and think this is not going to work. And I would suggest go and find another person. I found a second person, and I would say, honestly, she just helped me so much. And that started the beginning of my healing journey and started the beginning of really understanding what all of this was. And it was like deeper than my body image issues. From there, I spent a lot of time just really working on myself, just getting myself to a neutral place. And then from a place of like hating on myself, I accepted myself. And I think that is the biggest thing that helps me in my pregnancy as well, is just accepting yourself as it is. And you can want change, but when you come from accepting yourself and wanting change, so much easier.
Yeah, so much easier.
So much easier. And so for me, when I got onto the stage, got to the physique that I was like, wow, this is amazing, I also knew it was temporary. And knowing that it was temporary, it was actually very liberating just to know that I was embracing this moment. I got the physique and I achieved. I got the bikini champion, and then I actually did that again last year. In a year and a half, I got onto stage. Then I got married, and then I fell pregnant. So from actually 50, like the smallest I was, 49 kilos, to 71 kilos, you can imagine the massive, extraordinary change. And that required a lot of mindset shift that I would say, because I've gone through that journey, it made this experience so beautiful for me.
What age were you when you first went to that psychologist, and where you can go, okay, yeah, that's the point in my life that I started to know that I needed to change the way I thought about myself?
It would be around 25, 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then, when you were in the thick of your main sort of eating disorder, what did you think about becoming a mum? Was that anywhere in your mindset or thought patterns?
It's actually such a good question, Brigid. I've always wanted to be a mum. Like, I don't know, ever since I was like a teenager, I knew that I'd always wanted a mum. That was it is my biggest dream of all dreams. And so when I had experienced the thick of it, and I hit a really rock bottom point where I knew I wasn't getting out of this alone. I definitely wasn't. So when I went to see the psychologist, there's a lot of conflicting things, because there's this kind of self-obsessed, and you're just stuck in your mind and this is what you want. But then there's a conflicting desire of like, I want to be a mother. You don't know what you're doing to your body. At the same time, to be a mother, you're housing a child. You've got to create the right environment. So there was big concerns for me. I think as I was going through the sessions with the psychologist, I really felt like I was getting a little bit scared. Whether have I done any damage to my body, first of all, physically, to actually write out any of my chances of being pregnant. So that was my first thing. And then the second thing is my internal and psychologically. As I was thinking of the future that I wanted and that the desire to be a mother, I was like, is this the mindset of the mother that I want to be? And I think that was a very confronting question to me.
And then you went on the healing journey from, say, 25, 27 up to when you got pregnant. Did you have to go through any other tests to make sure that you were, you did have the right iron stores or the right nutrition? Were there any things that your obstetrician or your health provider was worried about at that time?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So in my late 20s, so I asked the GP and I said, look, I have a few concerns because obviously with my eating disorder, I don't know where I'm at in terms of my health. Is it possible? So there wasn't any particular signs that I was concerned about, but I wanted to make sure that I was okay. So I asked the GP, could I get an ultrasound? Could I get tests done? And they did my test. They checked my uterus and everything was fine. So that for me was, I think it was so much like gratitude. I had a moment where I was like, I've done, I think I've just treated my body as not well, not good, in a good place. And knowing that my body was fine, I was so thankful and so blessed and so grateful that I really made a decision, made a choice. And for me, it was, I'm from here on, I'm going to look after myself. Like, this is going to come from a place of love now. And that has been a massive change.
When you did get pregnant, or even in the pre-pregnancy stage, did it bring up any concerns or fears for you around food? Like, how did you feel about food then?
Absolutely fine. Like, when I found out I was pregnant, which was such a joy, I found out I was pregnant probably a month after we got married. I didn't expect it to happen that soon, because given I'm at the age of 37. So I got pregnant, absolutely so happy. And I would say I've eaten everything. There was nothing that I restricted myself from. I enjoyed a lot of the good stuff, probably too much of it. For the first time, I would say I hadn't felt any guilt at all in my pregnancy.
Yeah, wow. I bet that is heartening for women who are perhaps going through an eating disorder and wondering at that stage of deciding to become a mum, worried about what their intake's going to be. And here you are saying that was liberating for you. That's kind of a really, really nice thing for people to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like, had I not gone and get professional help back then in my 20s, so this has been like a 10-year journey to get to this point where, it didn't happen yesterday, from absolutely hating my body to absolutely loving and embracing the fact, even right now, like, am I where I want to be? Not exactly. Am I working towards the best version of myself? Yes. And right now it's temporary and it's the transition. Where I was then, if I was pregnant in that mindset, this would be a whole different experience for me. Motherhood would feel different for me. Accepting my body like this would feel different for me. Life would feel different for me. So everything would feel different for me.
You're going to help people in two ways. One is talking about your eating disorder, but the other is training. And from your own perspective, your personal perspective, did you train during pregnancy, and how did that go with that double whammy of having sort of body image acceptance and love, and how did you manage that?
I trained right up to 38 weeks of my pregnancy, which is pretty wild. But I would say my pregnancy was so smooth, like right from the beginning towards the end. Changes had to happen because as much as we can plan for things can change. My whole entire pregnancy, I actually trained 4 times a week, so strength training 4 times a week. And then heading towards the final trimester, things were getting a little bit more heavier, more difficult. So I cut it down to 3 times a week, and then slowly 2 times a week. And then 38 weeks was when it was my last training session.
Yeah. And did you modify the type of weight training that you did?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely modified my training. So, things like hip thrusts and barbell hip thrusts, things like that I wouldn't do. Breathing was different as well. So really focusing my breathing, focusing on taking more rest between sets and things like that as well. So things got lighter, and it wasn't about reaching failure or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not the time to hit your PBs, is it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. You just touched on it then, that things didn't go quite to plan at the end. You ended up with a planned section. Can you just talk to us about why that occurred?
Yeah, of course. So I really wanted a vaginal birth. I wanted to really experience labor, and that was the plan. And then towards the last final weeks with the check with the obstetrician, the baby Harvey was measuring quite big on the bigger end. So he was measuring at 3.8 then, and estimated to be about 4.2 at birth. So that for me was really scary.
Yeah.
That was really scary. So within a week from wanting a vaginal birth to, all right, we're having a planned C-section. So that I would say, because of what you guys do, of you and Pat have done, and the podcast and the program, the Grow My Baby program, it was just so empowering. Like, I didn't feel anxious about it. I knew where things would go. I was very informed, and I was very empowered to make the decision with the obstetrician, and I was confident.
I mean, I'd love to take full credit, Shay, for you getting there, but you've got such an unbelievable mindset. What are some of the tools that you use? Like, do you use any affirmations or journaling, or what is it that gets you to this point where you've recovered from a 17-year eating disorder, gone on to win a bodybuilding competition, then, the thing that you most wanted was to become a mum? Like, what tricks do you use?
It's so hard to say like what the other steps. And I honestly think my whole journey really started from self-love because I didn't have that for myself. I think that is the biggest thing. If I could leave a message for anyone, it's loving yourself, because no one can love you more than you loving yourself. If it doesn't come from a place of love for yourself, it's very difficult to love anything. It doesn't feel real. Like for me, because I just didn't feel, I looked in the mirror, I didn't love what I see. And then it was always from a place of anything that I wanted to do was a place from punishment. So, I wanted the physique back then when I was in a really terrible mindset. So I was like, I'm going to train 7 days. I'm going to be like doing cardio. I'm going to be on the treadmill. But it was from a place of punishment for me to get on stage with that mindset. And I actually won, which I never thought that I could even compete on a stage like that. I came from a place of abundance. So it was from a place of, you know what? I want to achieve that goal. I'm going to get there. And like, how do I want to get there? Do I want to get there like by punishing myself, or do I want to get there by giving myself the best chance possible? So that's like having the protein, fueling myself with the good foods and treating myself with the foods that I enjoy in moderation, but like not punishing myself. Like, I'm going to enjoy this. And then from that place, so when I won, it wasn't even so much of the winning. It was like I won for myself. Like I've won for my journey. And when I look back, I'm like, I'm so proud, because when you do it from a place of love for anything, it's incredible. It's incredible. Like you win.
Yeah.
You actually get to win.
And what a great role model for Harvey, your little boy. Is there anything that you would do in your parenting to help his journey and his love of himself and, his body? What would you do differently than perhaps what happened with you?
I think I thought about this a lot, because I thought about I think it's in demonstrating. I didn't have role modeling. And I would say a lot of this as well comes down to, the environment that you're raised in, and your parents do the best that they can for you. And I love my parents, but they weren't active parents. They also really didn't understand nutrition back then. So, and my mom, like, she really struggled with her body image. And I think for me, she never told me what to eat. She never told me any of those things, but it was through her, how she saw herself. So for me, the best role model that I could be for him is actually demonstrating.
Yeah.
It's just showcasing that. So right now he's in his pram and he gets to go to the gym 3 times a week. He might not see that, but he's already stepping into the gym. Like he sees that, his mom she wants to be a better version of herself, and she's not there yet, but she's here committing to herself and 3 times a week. And now it doesn't take me, it actually takes me longer, but that's okay. Like, it takes me longer, but I get the workout done, and it's not perfect, but I'm there showing up 3 times a week. So the best thing that I can do for Harvey, instead of telling him what to do or telling him what not to do, is just to role model the best that I can for him.
Yeah, that's such good advice. But it also, points out that parenting is hard. Like, we think, obviously all our pregnancy podcasts and our online program and everything is all about like the nuts and bolts of getting pregnant. And we do talk a little bit about the parenting side, or our self-love, or our body image, or whatever. But it's the whole package. You can't have all the knowledge without having, a good mindset.
I agree. I massively agree. And I was so happy when I came across your podcast. It was just by being 37 years old, pregnant for the first time. So you would have experienced like a lot of stories from friends, family, and all these experiences. And I was like, I don't really want to hear those experiences, because for me, I'm like, this is my own experience. So how do I want to experience it? So my question is always like, okay, you hear a lot of stories and everyone wants to give you their bit of 2 cents, which is their story. But this also gets to be my experience. It'll be my first time experience. So I thought, I want to experience this, the best experience that I want to have. So it's very intentional, the way that I kind of experience my competition, or experiencing right now in motherhood. People say like, it's really, really hard and it's going to get better. And every time someone asks me like, how's it going? I'm like, it's actually really good. Like, I love being a mother. It's quite a shocking thing. Like, wow, like they're preempting that it is hard. There is, of course, it's challenging, but I think knowing the duality of like the motherhood comes with its challenges. But if we really embrace like the joy of it, of course it's going to come with the challenge, but the joy of it is just without the challenge, there's no like that the joy of being a mother.
Oh, that's a good thing to say. Yeah.
You can't miss like the success. You can't not have the failure. Like you would have failed 10 times to have that success. So you can't have that success without the failure. Same things, you can't have the motherhood without the challenges. Like, so I'm thankful for both.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And look, even when, say, on social media, we know for a fact that if we were to put up a negative post, which isn't really our style, but if we were to put up a negative post, it gets way more traction than a positive post. We're sort of hardwired and predisposed to go towards the negative. So I think having someone like you really talking so joyfully about being pregnant, even with the massive road that you've travelled to get there, it's refreshing. It is really refreshing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
If you were talking to anyone now who either is currently in an eating disorder or recovering from an eating disorder, knowing that there's triggers that come on the way with changes in body shape and image, what advice would you give to them?
I would say, first of all, if you don't have help or support, and I would say I strongly, strongly advocate for this. If you don't have a professional that you're going to at the moment, please do seek out a professional. First things first. That is the most important thing. That changed my life. That absolutely changed my life because it didn't matter the amount of support and the love that you get from family and friends. Like, it's beautiful. You do need that too. But having someone that's objective and that can look after you from that professional sense, that is number one. Then it's having the support from your family and friends. I also know that being in that situation, you're very isolated because you probably might not share that with people. Not many people might not know. For a long time, no one knew that I was actually going through that and it was hidden. So I understand that. But go and get professional help. The third thing that I would say that for a long time I committed to was journaling. And it has played such a big role in my life. Journal. I say it's the hardest thing because in that moment, you just want to avoid your feelings and your emotions and how you feel about things. But being able to sit down, write, it slows down your thinking, slows down your thoughts, and you're just present with a pen and paper and just write how you feel. And then I will also say, go back and read the notes, read the pages, because it's very real when you're reading what you're writing, what you're feeling. And it's just facing those emotions. And now the way I journal, I would say the best thing is I try to avoid writing. When I say journal, try to avoid writing things like I hate myself.
Yeah.
Because that you don't want to keep those things in your journal. Like, write how you actually want to feel. The hardest thing is wanting to be the best version of yourself, or wanting to love yourself when you don't feel that yet. But can you put yourself in a state of, what if I do love myself? Even though you don't believe it in the moment. And I think that to me was very, very difficult. I actually love my life. I wrote the things that I loved about myself. I wrote the things that I was grateful for, even though I didn't feel the love for myself truthfully yet. But the more that you do that, the more that you actually just really face it and confront your emotions and thoughts, it is the biggest game changer.
Yeah, I really do agree. And I journal a lot, and I don't reread. Perhaps I could start implementing that. But I just find it's, for me too, I'm quite visual. So I know there's lots of different ways that people like to experience sort of reflection. And maybe for those that are auditory, they could, I don't know, listen to something or put their own voice into their voice memos or something like that, you know. So there's just ways that reflection is very important, I think.
Absolutely. I will say one other thing that's really helped me, and it's something that I still do to this day, like the journaling, things have gotten real, like life is a beautiful chaos right now. So
says the mum of a 3-month-old. Yes. Yeah.
But I would say the thing that I still continuously do, because it's easy to do, is I project myself forward. So right now, if you're feeling you're just not loving yourself, you're feeling, just a little bit sad or disappointed about, your body changing and things like that, what I would do, and this is how I'm doing things now, is I project myself forward in a year's time. So in a year's time, Harvey's going to be 1 and a bit. When I'm there, when I look back in this time, how do I want to remember it? Do I want to remember it is, oh my gosh, the whole entire time I was just worried about my body changing. I was just worried about a thing. How did he grow so quickly? I didn't notice the change. When was the first time he smiled? When was the first time he laughed? Like, what happened? I want to remember, oh my God, I remember on that day when he smiled and I looked into his eyes and I could feel that joy. I remember that first laugh. I remember we did that. That's how I want to remember. So I always project myself into the future, then looking back in hindsight. So it's kind of,
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And look, this podcast is very different from the medical side that we normally do. And that's great too, because as I said, we're multifactorial. So that's really important. Shay, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining our program as well. I'm so glad that you got a lot out of it. If anybody also wants to join the program, I'll put those links in our show notes. And then I always finish these podcasts with the same question. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?
That I think even if you had like the smoothest pregnancy, things could change like right at the end like that. And I think the biggest thing is having a birth preference instead of a birth plan. And I think that's what you both about for. And it has honestly helped me so much. So it's just being flexible, know what you want and desire, but the big picture. So don't get so stuck on the details of how it's going to be this. It's more so, okay, the result, the baby's healthy, I'm healthy, and how that's going to come out the way possible, then being accepting of that. That helped me a lot.
Yeah, great. I totally agree. That's been such a great podcast, Shay. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck to your parenting and to little Harvey. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I just want to shout out and say thank you so much to you and Brigid and Dr. Pat for what you do, because the podcast has helped me so much. I binge listened when I found you both. I was like binge listening. And then secondly is I highly recommend for anyone that is pregnant, planning to get pregnant, please do the course. And I say this, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm saying this because I absolutely found it so helpful. It just empowered me. It were like, for someone like myself, I was so informed, even though I heard all these stories, I was able to use my own discernment to make my own decisions. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks for listening, everyone, to Shay's story. We love it when our students come on and talk about their experience of getting pregnant and having a baby, but also their experience of the Grow My Baby program. If you're keen to join us, just go simply to our website, which is growmybaby.com.au. Until then, we'll be back next week. Bye for now.